What is up, everybody? Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Your Ex Drinking Buddy with me, your host, Brennan Tassif. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Check us out on YouTube. Full video available there. Check out the merch store. Look at all this stuff. We got all this stuff on the merch store. It's all available on the website, BrennanTComedy.com. You can also get my tour dates there. Every show that I have coming up, I'm going to be in New York, traveling the country, doing a bunch of gigs. So check it out. Get tickets at BrennanTComedy.com. Check out the merch store. And lastly, if you really want to support, go to www.patreon.com/BrennanTComedy. And that is where you can find Tales from the Restaurant, where I divulge everything about the celebrities I wait on. And also a little bit of behind the scenes. You'll also get the episodes early, a bunch of bonus episodes. Check it all out. Thank you so much. Enjoy the episode.
Grab me a beer and grab him a coke. We bout to sit for an hour, bullshit and tell jokes. And please don't mix it up, cause he done sobered up. Brennan T Comedy on your social media feeds. And Brennan Tassif is your ex drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex drinking buddy.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Your Ex Drinking Buddy. I'm your host, Brennan Tassif. If you're new to the program, quick rundown of the show. I used to be everyone's favorite drinking buddy. It was my favorite thing to do, hang out with friends, get drunk, do drugs, get in all sorts of trouble, and then reminisce about those crazy stories. I am sober now, but it's still one of my favorite things to do, hang out with somebody and reminisce about the crazy old days. Most weeks I'll be joined by a guest. This week is no exception. All the way from New York City, Akash Bajpai. Did I nail it?
That's amazing. You killed it. You know, better than most podcast mics or most comedian hosts at shows and stuff. You killed that.
Well, I wanted to fuck it up originally, just because when you brought me up at the show last week,
God, yeah,
I don't even know where it came from.
it was a mind blank.
So Akash and I were on a show last week, and you're hosting, and then you go to bring me up, and you go, Brendan Fraser, and I was like, what? That's not even close.
I know. It was. I always fuck it up in my show all the time too, and I always feel bad because like being, you know, the brown guy on most shows, people are always like coming up to me, really checking on the name.
Yeah.
Then they go on stage and like completely blow it. And I just like assume since like, no, they're like white names, like I got it. And then you start hosting the show, you're like trying to do crowd work, and then it's like, who's next on the lineup? And then your like mind goes like completely blank.
I've had it happen. I don't host often anymore, but when I do, and it's not even like a flex. I just don't I don't get a lot of spots. But when I do host, I go through the same thing where it'll be something as innocuous as like my buddy Dan Lamore, and we're friends, and I'll be like, Dan Lamore, and then I'll be like, Dan Lamorte, and I'm like, the fuck did I throw that extra accent on there for?
Yeah, no, like especially I feel like with an Italian name, you know, you'll be like all of a sudden it's like your buddy like Randy Giovanni, and then you're like Randy Giovanni coming up,
Yeah.
and it's like, who am I all of a sudden?
Dude, I fuck it up on the show. Because I'll do the thing where I'll ask right before, and sometimes I'll spell it out phonetically if it's because I've had people on here where their last names, and they're not difficult. They're just not what I'm used to.
Yeah.
So I'll be like I have Teresa De Gaetano on. I've had her on before, and she's coming back on. And love her, she's great. But the last name, the way it's spelled, it like it's kind of a mind trick. You're like De Gaetano, but you can't obviously do that introing the show.
Yeah.
So I'll just be like, hey, all right, get right into it. Before we get too far into anything, plug everything up front. Tell everybody where they can find you, the show, amateur hour, all the stuff.
Cool. Yeah, you can follow me on, you know, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Akash Baj Comedy on any of those things. You can find me. I'm always at Greenwich Village Comedy Club, mostly on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. If you want to come through, use promo code Akash for $5 on your ticket. It helps me out. I also host a show once a month in the East Village called Amateur Hour Comedy. Completely free show with a killer lineup of comics that you would normally have to like pay to see or see on TV and stuff, but you get to see them completely for free. And yeah, posting online, like the stories, like the posts. I don't know.
That was one fun thing when we were doing the show, because we were all outside before the show and we were trying to get a couple more people. And you kept being like, free show. And in my head, I was like, if people paid for tickets, because I didn't realize it was a fully free show.
Yeah.
So I was like, if people paid for tickets and they're coming up being like, oh, we already got our tickets, and you're like, free show. I'm like, they're going to be pissed.
I know, yeah. It's we tried that before where we did have like a run of tickets that we like did for like $5, and then day of we were trying to bark people in and everything. And somebody was like downstairs being like, so you guys got in for free? And I was like, I'd be like, I'll buy you a drink, buddy. You know, so just panicking.
Well, that's a big thing because I've produced shows here and there, and the one thing that I find is you don't want to deter people from coming by making it too expensive.
Yeah.
But you also don't want it to seem like if you make it free, then a lot of times and you get like people in, you know this, you get people in off the street, then they have no stake in it. So they're kind of like on their phones or half paying attention. And it's like, all right, because I've done plenty of shows at certain clubs we won't talk about, but they may or may not be near Times Square. And they bark in like the entire audience. And then you get on stage and you're like, oh, you guys don't even want, you like came because you're visiting New York, you barely speak English, and you're like, oh, stand-up comedy. Yeah, let's go do that. And
you didn't realize you like locked yourself in for like 90 minutes in a basement.
And I'm going to be making references that have nothing to do with anything you're familiar with.
Yeah, you're like talking about like deep Astoria stuff, and this guy's like from Dusseldorf.
I'm like, Mighty Ducks is crazy, right? And they're like, what is this? What is Ducks? So let's talk about it. You and I met a couple weeks ago. We did the show together, as we mentioned. And I wanted to talk mainly about you because this is the thing. You wore the Michigan shirt here, the sweatshirt. Sure. Go blue.
Go blue.
Are you you went to Michigan?
I went to Michigan, yeah. Went to Michigan. That was my first departure from the East Coast. I was in the Midwest. I was lost. I was scared. I was suddenly around a lot more white people coming out of New Jersey.
So you grew up in New Jersey?
Yeah, I grew up in New Jersey, Central Jersey. It does exist. You know, but yeah, really like big Indian Asian population and stuff. And then when I like went to Michigan, I remember the first time I was like in a class and I was like, we all like, it was the first day, so everybody's going around just saying like their name or whatever, and I just like clocked that we got to the end of everybody in the class and I was like the only foreign name.
Oh really?
I just like looked around the room,
a lot of Brian's and Steve's,
and I was just like, holy
Kelly's.
shit, yeah, dude, there's mad Beckys in here. Zero Rajas.
So that's something interesting, and I've talked about this before with other guests. My wife, her brother went to Michigan. She went to Delaware, but they grew up in outside of Boston. So it's interesting to me. This is a Northeast thing, and I've talked about it ad nauseum because I'm from Florida. So we have like the University of Florida, Florida State, USF, UCF. We have like a ton of huge schools in Florida.
Yeah.
So it's always been foreign to me, the idea of growing up in an area and then being like, no, I'm going to go halfway across the country to go to college.
Oh yeah.
Did you make the conscious decision to do that because you wanted to get out of the Northeast, or like what was the idea behind that?
No, I like wanted to be in the Northeast. I wanted to like go to NYU. I wanted to like start stand up like right away and everything, and just like be in the city and stuff. It was more of just like, oh, this was like a good school that like accepted me and stuff. I feel like I like for a lot of the kids over there.
You like threw a couple darts and they're like, no, actually you can come, and you're like, wait, what?
I was like, oh shit, cool, right? Like I had every kid in my town is like always like trying to get to Princeton, trying to get to Harvard, trying to get to Yale, and it's just like, buddy, you're Rutgers material. You know, like. And I was just like, I don't really want to do Rutgers. Don't want to be, 30-minute train ride from home in New Brunswick. So I'll pop over to Ann Arbor and see how it's like over there. And it was good, man. It was good to get a different like vibe on the country and stuff. Like people out there in the Midwest, it was like mad chill. Started like actually doing comedy up there and stuff like that.
So yeah, I want to get into all that. Did you go, a couple of just basic questions I like to ask. Did you go to a high school, middle school, high school, public school, private school?
Public school all the way K through 12.
Big schools.
Big schools, yeah. Probably like high school graduating class is like over 500, 600
Okay, yeah,
people.
mine too.
Yeah.
Okay, and I always like to get a gauge because I've had people on who grew up in the city, outside the city, but then they went to private school. So it's like, yeah, you're around all these people on a daily basis because you live in a dense area, but then your graduating class is like 80 kids. And it's like and then they would go to like Michigan or Rutgers or Delaware, and they're like, holy shit. But you were already used to it. You were used to having the 50 kids, 100 kids in a class and all that.
Yeah, that didn't matter to me. It was more just like the cultural shock. Like I didn't realize like the East Coast was like so different to the Midwest. I honestly like didn't even really know the Midwest like had a culture. Like I always thought of things as terms of like West Coast versus like East Coast, and then probably the South. Yeah. Right? Was like the own cultures within America. Like Midwest, like lake life, like tailgating and like college football, dude.
I mean, the college football I get, but that's the South, SEC country.
Yeah,
and stuff
they have
that.
SEC stuff too. So some like
Big Ten does it a little different.
Big Ten does it a little different. Like I didn't realize like peak of living is just like running through a 30 rack on a boat, dude. Just like on a lake in a little pontoon is like, I don't think I've ever been happier.
So this is awesome because you grow up in Jersey, Central Jersey, as we've discussed. When did you find because you said you started doing stand-up at Michigan. So where were you? Because you're obviously a lot younger than I am. How were you introduced to comedy? I always ask this question whenever I have a guest on in the arts because it's a very niche thing.
Yeah.
And so were you just scrolling one day and you saw it, or were you like super into it, like watching it on TV, or like how did it happen?
I was in the 5th grade, and one of my homies put me on to Russell Peters, and I was like, who is this guy? And then he was like, you got to go home, you got to watch. It was like that hotel special that he put out on YouTube. Everybody knows that special, right? And I'm like 11 years old. I go home and I watch this stuff, and this guy is just so fucking funny, and I am dying laughing. And I'd always been like a class clown type of person, but this was like the first time I saw that, like, outside of like acting in like movies or like TV, like you can just be funny and like people will pay to see you. So like that was the first time I like put together that like stand-up comedy was a thing. And then like 6 months later, I had like a family like talent shows, and I was like, I didn't know what to do.
What do you mean? Wait. Whoa. You can't just skip over family talent show.
Like there was just like a family friend party, and it was like,
so your family, is this a thing that they would do every year? We get together and then we have a talent show.
It wasn't my family. It was like a family that we were friends with.
Okay.
They would host the talent show, and it was like kids from everybody's families, like in that big kind of Indian squad, would like do a little talent stuff. So like most kids coming up there doing a little violin, doing a little piano, classic.
You're like, watch this.
I was like, watch this. I was just like,
white people be crazy, man.
3450, just saying crazy things, talking about like punani as like an 11-year-old and stuff. And like
Russell Peters doesn't get enough credit because he's massive worldwide,
so big.
But in the United States, he's not like a household name.
I know.
Like if you looked at it on on just the traditional scale of like what they sell and how many people know about him. Worldwide, Russell Peters is up there with like Chappelle and like all those people.
There was like a
Jerry
while.
Seinfeld, and
he was like #1 like earner for like a few like hot years.
Yeah.
And it was like, but then you like talk to somebody in like the US and they're like, I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
Like Canada is like the biggest fucking guy. Asia, he was like killing it.
He was massive in Asia and Europe. Because I know this because when I first got into comedy about 5 or 6 years, because I got into comedy when I was 12, so obviously that was like 19 or 2000.
I was born then.
Yeah, that's not. God, that's crazy. So I honestly didn't I didn't know about a lot of comics other than the ones I saw on Comedy Central Presents. But then I got into Tom Segura, and when I got into Tom, he was opening for Russell.
Oh, wow.
Which is how I found Russell Peters through Tom Segura. So again, this just goes back to the idea that you think, if I'm into comedy, I would find Russell Peters before I'd find Tom Segura, but it was actually the reverse. I found Tom, and then he talked about opening for Russell, so then I went and watched Russell, and I was like, this guy's fucking hilarious.
He's so good. Yeah, no, I haven't been like seeing his new stuff, but like those old things were like so foundational to like what I like wanted to do when it came
so
to
then
comedy.
In your head at 11 years old, you do the talent show, and then are you like, oh, this is the thing I want to try to do?
Yeah, at that point it was like, I love this. I need to start, I need to find a path towards this. And then there's like, for the rest of like till I was 18, it was just like, I'm in the suburbs. I didn't know like what to do comedy wise and everything. I was like really just like focused on school so my parents wouldn't be on my ass.
And you're still watching stand-up, I assume.
Still watching stand-up. Like at that point, then I like really get into like Louis C.K. and like John Mulaney and like Kevin Hart. When Kevin Hart's like laugh at your pain and all that stuff was coming out, like I was like,
say it with your chest.
I know, like I was like,
we were all doing that. I'm 20 years old or 15 years older than you, and we were doing that.
I know. I was like using my like first job money to like buy these like specials and everything,
That's
because
awesome,
I was like,
dude.
I want to watch this stuff. And like, but yeah, then I would like show up to school the next day and like nobody knows what I'm talking about. Like, no, but it's like really funny. And yeah, so for a while it was just like a super niche thing that I was like I was one of like 3 kids that would be talking about stand-up comedy specifically. So everybody always knew like, oh, Akash likes comedy. Akash likes comedy. And then when I went to college, I was like, just like looking for like, there has to be some way to perform out here. This is college.
Yeah, Ann Arbor's not small.
Exactly. So, but it was all like improv clubs and like teams
always
and stuff.
is in
It's
college.
always. And I was like so close to just being like, maybe I just joined one of these. But then I finally found this like one small little club, joined it, and like that's how we started. We started doing shows together and everything. And my first showcase like had this first joke that I like ever wrote. Did it. It was like a really long like 5-minute story. killed, and I was like, all right, now I'm hooked. You know,
Yeah.
at this point, like I'm back.
So you didn't do any open mics before.
No, the open.
So you got to college, found the club, and then you're like, let's start performing.
Yeah, I got to the club, and the club was like, the club did like an open mic thing. Like that was like the club meetings weekly was basically an open mic. We were just like practicing our jokes like in front of each other. So I did the joke one time at the open mic club thing, and then did like a show like
That's
in
nuts.
October of like my freshman year, and it was like I invited one person who I like, one friend that I made in Michigan, and I was like, because I don't want to blow this up. What if I fall flat on my face? Right? Like if people are
I've
like,
had that.
you know,
invite a bunch of people and then you bomb and
and
you're like,
"Oh."
hey, sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, it's just like it's not always like that, you know.
That audience, right? And they're
Yeah.
like, yeah, we were in the audience. And you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, you guys suck.
Yeah, it was mostly us actually. So I invited like one friend. I didn't realize he ended up like telling everybody, like behind my
Oh,
back.
shit.
He was just like, guys, Akash is doing the show. So like I show up, I see like my one friend walk in, and I'm like, cool. And then like behind him, this like train of like 40 people who I'm
Oh,
like,
shit. You had like a ton of people.
it
come.
was a pack. We were in this like small like church like back room that like let us perform. It was this like super like liberal progressive church, so they were like fine hosting like performances and stuff. So we're in this like really small room that ended up just being so packed, and I was like freaking out because I'm like, this was like still like very make or break. I'm like, some of these people may never talk to me again.
Yeah.
You know, like
This
if I
might be-
bomb, they'll be like, that guy's a loser. Like maybe we don't invite him out next time.
I remember, and I told this story before, but we went on tour last summer. Me and my, I was my headliner, Matt Fulshron. I went to feature for him. We did a show in Cambridge at the Comedy Lounge there,
Yeah.
which is awesome. She's from outside of Boston, my wife. And so it was, I'm going to invite my parents, and they're going to invite their friends. And I was like, oh, if I bomb, Thanksgivings for the rest of my life are going to be real awkward. Like, hey, you still trying to do the comedy thing, man?
It's the worst.
It's
It's
like you're auditioning for your friends. You're
it's
auditioning.
insane, dude. You have
And
to,
then
like,
you
prove
ended up
yourself.
doing well, though.
Yeah, I ended up going like surprisingly well. I had like that thing where people come up to you being like, wow, man, like that was great. And like somebody was like, oh, was that your first time? And like just like a lot of like good support for like your first time like
That's
trying
awesome.
something. So
Yeah.
at that point I was like, hell yeah, like I want to keep doing this. So then throughout college for like the rest of the club we would do shows and stuff.
So are you the stand-up guy like in college? So that happens your freshman
Yeah.
year. So then from then on out, everyone knows, oh, Akash does stand-up.
Yes, Akash became the stand-up guy, and it was like
Because in
that-
high school, you were the guy who liked it. But then in college, you were the guy who did it.
Exactly. It was like finally like an evolution. And it was like that thing of when I finally decided to like decide to like post a bit or like post on my story that I'm doing this and stuff, like everybody from high school is like, hey, like you finally
You're
did
doing
it.
it.
You
You're
finally
doing
did
it.
it. You're not all talk, you know?
That is a crazy thing that I love about social media. I have a bit about it, but my dad, growing up, he was in sales. So he'd always be like, it's perception. Like if people think you're crushing it, then you're crushing it. Like just make sure you always
Oh, it
keep
is.
up.
So it is.
And that's so true because my dad shreds on the guitar, should have been in a band, but then started having kids. Sorry, Dad. But that is so true with comedy. I mean, it's true with anything, but especially with comedy because it is a situation where, like, when I post stuff, I'll be at an open mic and a buddy of mine will take a picture, like in New York, and I'll be like, oh, that's actually a pretty good picture. I'll throw it on my stories, and then like 2 or 3 people from Florida will be like, dude, crushing comedy.
Yeah,
and I'm
I-
like, this is at 2:00 on a Wednesday, but you're never gonna know that.
Exactly. It was just like I'll post any like media of me doing stand up because if you don't know, you think I'm killing it. And like you don't realize I'm not at the cellar. I'm like down the street in a shittier basement.
Yeah, but they see the neon light behind it that says comedy club,
Yeah,
and they're like, wow.
whoa, dude, this guy's doing it, man.
Greenwich Village, that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, wow, this guy's a Dave Chappelle.
So I want to talk to you about. So we kind of got the background on comedy. What I wanted to ask, because do you still live in Jersey?
Nah, I live in the East Village.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
So
post college.
What happened? You graduate college, and then did you just decide like I'm going to go to New York now to pursue stand up, and then get a day job, but stand up is the thing.
Yeah, well, so like, the idea was like graduate from college and get like I had a tech degree from college, a CS degree, so I was like, let me graduate, get a tech job where it's like chill. I can work in New York City, but then like my evenings I can just like fully devote to like stand up comedy. And luckily that's what it worked out to be. So like moved here, worked my 9 to 5, coding away, doing some boring stuff. But
Wait. You're in tech?
yeah. brown guy with glasses and tech. Whoa, stop the presses.
What are we doing here, everybody? This is crazy.
But yeah, it's luckily like the tech job I work is not like too fucking crazy and stuff. So like I'm very much like get off the clock, hit a mic, go to a show, like try to get some spots up. Right, I have like time to like write during the day and everything, so try to keep that balance.
Yeah, and that's super important because this is something I've been battling with because I work in restaurants, and the restaurant I work in is a very swanky steakhouse, and people are always like, you got to quit, you got to get your nights, and I'm always like, listen, there's no question I'm devoted to comedy because I moved across the country to be in New York for comedy.
Yeah.
So like, I'm not worried about that. And if I get booked on a show, especially if it's on it, I only work 3 days a week. So I always push back with people. And I'm like, you know how I performed at the Cellar? It's not because of open mics. It's because I've met someone who produces a show at the Cellar through my restaurant. And it's like, I can make my rent in a weekend. Like, but then at the same time, I'll get a text from a booker at like Greenwich Village or Broadway on a Friday, be like, yo, can you jump on the spot tonight? And I'm like, I'm already at work. Like, no. So it is this kind of push-pull. So for you, coming out of college, you were very much like, no, 9 to 5, I'm gonna do that. But then comedy is the real reason.
Yeah, comedy was like always the real reason. And like I tell my friends, I was like, if somebody asked me to like come with them on the road, I'm quitting the job. Yeah. Like I'm leaving the job.
I do say that all the time to my boss. I was like, if because, and also I'm pretty, like, I'm a certified trainer. I'm one of the leads. So like, if I am like, hey, I'm gone this weekend, they're like, yeah, no problem. Like they're incredibly supportive. They come to a bunch of shows. Like they don't care about any of that. But it is one of those things where I tell my GM all the time, I go, like because I'm friends with some bigger comics. I was like, if they call me to be like, hey, my opener got sick, you need to feature for me this weekend, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm gone and drop
like,
the
you
hat.
guys can fire me, call it a no call, no show, but I'm telling you now, like, if I get that call, I'm not going to be here.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, no, we get it. Because I think in their head, they're like, that's never going to happen.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, like, probably won't. But I'm like, it will. To us, it's like, it definitely will. You know?
The delusion that we have to have is insane because the only way out is through. Like, you got to just keep thinking it's going to. I say it all the time, especially to my in-laws. Because I always be like, they're very supportive. How's it going? And I'm always just like, it's right around the corner. I can feel it. It's right there. I know it's coming.
Exactly. I tell my friends all the time, they're like, how long do you think you're going to keep trying this and everything? And I'm just like, hey, man, it's only going up right now. Like, I'm moving up.
We're crushing.
I was just like, I feel like every, 3 months, I think I'm progressing. I'm doing more time, doing more spots, content's going. Like, for right now, like, let's be a little bit more optimistic. Right? Like, don't you want me to be on Netflix? Right?
That's another thing too. Is it's so funny because people seem like they want you. They're supportive in the very beginning. Yeah. And then it's that weird middle ground.
That first bringer you get in your whole everybody
the
you
whole
know.
Crew is there.
Everybody you know is there. Then that next one, it's just like, hey man, please, I'll buy your ticket.
Well, it's so funny because Tracy, she has a lot of her friends she's a teacher, and a lot of her friends are always like, when's Brennan's next show? When's Brennan? And so when I produce shows, I strategically do it every 6 months. Because if I do it every month, they're not all going to come. Yeah. They'll be like, oh, I was at the last one, or I'll go to the next one. You have to make the scarcity gives it its value. So then if I do it every 6 months, they're chomping at the like, oh yeah, we got to come. We missed the last one. We don't know when the next one's going to be. But it is fun because people will be like, why don't you produce a show? And it's like, well, I do, but I just do it spaced out. Because to your point, if I did this every month, like, people are like, nah, I'm out, man.
Yeah.
You're crazy. I just came to one.
For the one I produce every month, I like try to sell it to like my friends and everything. Is like, you're gonna see like other funny comics like for free. So like come in for that. You'll see like a professional like crush it, and it'll be really funny. But yeah, like for I'm not asking them like, hey, I got a show like today, and then there's one on Friday. So can you come to both and everything? It's like, you don't need to spend $100 to see me talk about my dick for 5 minutes.
Yeah, it gets expensive. Well, and the other thing too that can be a problem is, so like a lot of times, especially with my regulars or people just visiting New York who come into the. I'm sorry, this is gonna bother me.
Oh, the light, yeah.
The light went out.
Oh, there we go. Nice.
You pay for all this equipment, and then it just, well, maybe Brennan buy better equipment. All right. Anyway. The thing I was going to say is I'll have regulars come in and they'll be like, oh, when's your next show? Like, we want to come see you. But again, it's so fickle. So like, unless you produce your own show, you don't know when your next show is.
I know.
Because even a lot of the clubs, you get the spots the week before. So it's like, I don't know.
I had a first time like real fan, like somebody who's just like, oh yeah, I followed you, so like I came to your show, and it was
That's
like
awesome.
It was at Amateur. It was like very cool and stuff. And then they were immediately like when's the next show? Like, if some friends coming to town next week, and I was like, I'll figure out a show for you next week.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have anything on the
tell people
books,
that all the
but like
time.
you just told me that you would come to see me next week, so I'll text a booker right now.
I'm gonna get a bringer.
But
Here
like,
we go.
Yeah, people, it's that. Back to what we were talking about, like I want to post it on my story all the time. So like if you're not in comedy, you think I'm crushing it and everything. You're like, oh wow, he's making moves. But then you think that like, oh, he's actually making moves, and you expect when you come like he's doing stuff all the time, and it's like, no, I don't have anything for like the next 3 weeks. But you know,
I told the booker I could bring 4 people.
Exactly. You know, if you want to, I can set something up. You know,
It's so, I love that you brought that up, because when I have friends visit, or just acquaintances from high school or whatever, visiting New York, because, you know, New York, the city itself is the draw.
Yeah.
Like, nobody comes to see us. They come to go to New York, and then they're like, oh, you also live here. That's cool. And they'll reach out and they'll be like, oh, we're going to be in town. We want to see you perform. And I'll do the same thing. I'll reach out to like Drew or somebody and be like, hey, I've got some friends in town. I need to be on this show. The biggest problem though is when they're like, yeah, we're coming like Tuesday to Thursday or Tuesday to Saturday, which is perfect for me because I'm off Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So I can find something. And they're like, we want to see comedy. And I'm like, all right, what date? And they're like, we don't know yet. And I'm like, well, I need to know like which day, because I'm going to shoot this shot and I only get one chance at it. You can't say probably Tuesday and then be like, oh, actually, we're going to do Wednesday. And it's like, no. Now you have to do Tuesday.
Exactly. Like, no, I already told him I'm on doing the 7 o'clock on Thursday. So like,
I already told him I got 4 people coming.
You need to change that dinner reservation.
Yeah.
You know, it's always like, they think it's cool that they think we're getting up just like 24/7 to where like, yeah, don't worry guys, I'll just like walk in and get on stage, and it's like, no, I'm not there yet. Like,
well, and also
almost
a lot of comics aren't there yet. Yeah. I've had huge comedians on the show, and we've talked about the like Esty and how like some months Esty will put them up 5 or 6 times a week, and then other months it's like once a week, and they're like, I don't know what I did wrong, and it's like, you're a huge comedian. Like, what is happening?
It's insane. I don't know. Yeah, the rat race for like getting on stage, it's wild.
Well, that's why you produce your own show, and then you're just like, I figured it out.
Literally, like, I mean, yeah, that was like some advice I got when I like first moved to like New York, and I was like talking to some other comics at mics, and I was like, hey, just like, how do I get up? You know, like, I'm just doing open mics right now. Like, what's the pipeline to like doing shows? And they were like, honestly, the best way to like do a show is like produce your own.
Yeah.
So
that's
I was
what
like,
people say all the time.
I was like, okay, I didn't want to like, so I didn't do that right away, because I was like, I want to still like just try to like, you know, get on shows and just focus about my sets and like my jokes and everything. But after I did that for about a year, and I was just like, okay, just so I can at least consistently like once a month like do a show and then have jokes that I want to do, potentially like get a clip out of them or something like that. Might as well produce the show. And then it helps just to like meet like really big comics and stuff. And
it is a huge
it's crazy sometimes, like the guys who will like respond to my DMs to be like, yeah, sure, I'll do like your random show on a Sunday, and it's like, dude, I'm nobody. Like, thanks.
Same thing here. It's a fun game that we play, because I've booked people on this show where I'm like, you're gonna come on my podcast, and I try not to like be like, oh my god, that's so cool. I'm like, yeah, of course, yeah, why wouldn't you come on? It's a pretty big podcast. But then I've also had the opposite, where this is a little out of school, but like I'll be waiting on someone who I know, who we've met through comedy, and whether it's I tell them to come into the restaurant, or a friend of theirs is like, oh, go see Brennan, he'll take care of you. Because there's some huge comics that will shout me out on their podcast, but it's always the waiter, and I'm always like, you can't say the comedian who works at the steakhouse. But then they'll come in, and then obviously, so there's automatically a connection there.
And that's huge.
And then I'll be like, oh, you know, if you ever want to promote anything, come on the pod. And they're like, yeah. When I'm giving them free food and stuff, they're like, yeah, of course. You name the time, I'll be there. And then you reach out like a week later, and they're like, actually, I'm really busy, man. I'm sorry.
Could you reach out to my agent instead?
Yeah, and I'm like, god damn it. And I've also had it, but again, the opposite, where I've run into big comics, and I'll be like, I'd love to have you on, just throwing it out there, because you got to throw the darts. And they're like, yeah, actually, that sounds pretty cool. Let's do it. And I'm like, really?
Dude, it's amazing. Yeah, and it's like, it'll be so weird because like you try not to fangirl, because I'm like, at the same time, like, I used to just like watch videos of you in my like dorm room, like, and now I'm doing a show with you on it, like I'm bringing you up, you know, like this is so crazy.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. You went to a big school. We got a lot of stories that you sent.
Oh yeah.
The first one you sent me, I think this is. I want to end on the Christmas tree fire because that one seems very funny. But I want to start with the bid night. That's a fraternity thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Little less.
Because I'm uninitiated to fraternity life.
Okay.
I played college football, so we were kind of did our own thing.
Well, you're still technically cooler than me because I was in a professional fraternity. So
Okay. Yeah, I was a Division I athlete.
Yeah, I'm not the frat brother that
Well, that's what when I saw that,
off.
I was like, I've met you a few times. Like, you don't come off as like a
no,
broy bro.
I'm technically I have letters, but like no, but it doesn't mean anything to anybody. Like
This is more of like a networking sort of a thing.
It really was more of just like a networking thing of like, hey, I'll review your resume and that we can also like drink together.
So what happened with the bid night? Take us through the whole process because again, I'm uninitiated with fraternities. I've had a few people on who are in frats, but I've always been curious about how, again, this isn't a normal frat, but how, like, what is bid, like, how does it work?
Yeah, so like for the bid night process, which is just like your initiation into like the frat thing, that like they try to keep it pretty similar to like social frat culture. Like that's how they get away with like calling themselves frats and everything. But like the way it works is like you get picked up by like some other people, the brothers in the frat, right? You're in like pairs of two. You're like being driven around for a while
But
like,
you have already found the fraternity that you want. Like you've already like applied to it and done all the things.
I applied to this fraternity just off like desperation, really. I was in Michigan and like, big school. And I'm like used to like big campuses and all that stuff. But like I was having like a hard time finding like my squad and everything. I was like, I didn't come into college with like any people from like back home.
Yeah, you're
and
coming
stuff.
from 3,000 miles away.
Exactly. So I didn't really know anybody, and I was like really trying to find like my group of like guys or like my squad that I could start hanging out with. Decided to just go to this like one meeting on a whim because like a friend who I like kicked it within like a class like 30 minutes before that was like, oh, I'm about to check this out. Like, you want to come with me? And I was like, sure. So checked that out, and I was like, okay, these people are like pretty cool. And I was like getting the vibe that I'm like, okay, these guys, you will review my resume well, and then we'll party really fucking hard. And I'm like, cool, I fuck with that. So after that, you like got to attend like some of these like social events where it's just like you talking to these people in like speed dating formats or like barbecues. Okay, so
it's
stuff.
Like it's very much like an interview process.
Very much like an interview process, just kind of being like, if for like, and since it's like a professional one, you have to like also like talk about things that you're like interested in like professionally, like, oh, I love startups and like venture capital is so cool.
You guys seen Kevin Hart's special? Anybody?
Yeah. Like literally, I'm like just like pulling all this shit out of my ass. Like I just read this on my phone 30 minutes before.
Yeah, of course. You just do the generic talking points.
Exactly.
I do the same. Yeah,
the buzzwords and everything. You're like, oh, the blockchain is crazy. And it was just like,
I used to do that because I majored in political science, and so it was.
It's all buzzwords.
That's all it is. It's like, can you believe the GOP with a declining deficit? That's crazy. And people are like, wow, this guy knows his shit.
Yeah. It was like, so you're doing all this like kind of wonky, just like fake interview stuff, and then eventually like they narrow down like all the people who are trying to get in that semester to like a select few, and all of those guys get invited to bid night.
You made it through that process.
Yeah, I made it through that process. I get a bid.
Freshman year?
Bid night, yeah. Freshman year, second semester, I want to say.
Okay, so that's the first semester was kind of rocky where you're like, I can't fucking find anybody.
Yeah, first semester, like, and I did have, like, you know, I had that show. People were, like, starting to know me on campus. I was, like, a comedian guy, but I wasn't really, like, finding, like, the people I, like, wanted to just sit around and, like, bust balls with and stuff. Finally thought I was, like, trying to getting it through this, like, fraternity thing. On the actual bid night, what happens is, like, got picked up by some other brothers. I'm in the back of this car with like another guy who I didn't know at the time. Now is like one of my best friends.
Okay.
But we're in the back of the car, and like it's always just like when you think about this stuff as an adult, you're like, what the fuck is going on? Because it's like it's 20-year-olds driving trying to like intimidate the fuck out of like 18-year-olds, and it's like, what do we all of us have to like call our mom for like major decisions? Like, what do we?
None of us got here on our own.
There's no real alpha right now. Like, so
normally the alpha is the one who's most taken care of by their parents because they have all the money and stuff.
Yeah, literally the guy with like the cool car whose dad like bought for him.
It's like, oh, you can't do anything on your own.
Exactly. So we were just in the back of the car. You're going through all this like bullshit. They like make you like get out of the car, like do some push-ups in the snow, just like random stuff to like try to make you like feel like, oh, are you scared? You know? And like looking back, it was just like the shittiest Pilates class or whatever. Like, It was just so stupid. But after the whole drive around thing, you get put in this basement blindfolded with like a bunch of all the other like people who are there for midnight. So
are you nervous at any point? Or are you actually genuinely
no,
like,
dude, this thing is like, even in the moment, you're like, this is such bullshit. Like, you're like, oh, okay, I got to go along with it and stuff. But I'm like, if I took off this blindfold and I see the guy who's yelling at me, I'm like, I'm probably looking at you in the eyes.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's no real fear here or whatever.
it's not like the old days.
It's not like
where
the-
people would die through the hazing process.
Exactly.
'Cause
It's
you're
not
like,
like,
whoops.
and I also knew, I was like, I'm in a professional frat. Like, you guys all want to work at like real jobs.
You
later.
all went button up 9 to 5.
Exactly.
Every
It
single
was
one
just
of
like,
you.
you
when you're
guys can't
SS, what is
wait
it?
till you're in like a fucking zip up like vest, dude.
Your short sleeve dress shirts.
Yeah,
Your
dude,
SSDSs.
You're loving that stuff. So I was like, just trying to go along with it and everything. But then you get, when you're in that basement, they make you start like, that's when like the hazing kind of starts with like you guys got to drink and like everybody has to like learn everything about each other. And we're going to come down there and we're going to ask like a random person. And like, you guys have to finish this handle by the same time we're doing it.
How many?
Just
How many
it
people?
was one handle and probably like 15 people.
Come on.
So
It's easy.
easy task.
Easy work.
Should be like such an easy task, but you have so many people who are like being so coy about it, and like a lot of these people are freshmen, so like some people like haven't drank too much and stuff, so they're like, I need chaser.
Didn't think about that.
Yeah, dude. Some of these kids are like real squares and stuff. And like, I was also like in high school, I wasn't really like a drinking guy. I was more like a smoking weed kind of guy. But I was like, still like, no, I can take a shot or two of stuff. So we're passing this handle around, and I'm like, it's not going fast. It is people like taking like just the littlest sip of like vodka and then like finishing like half a jug of orange juice. And it's like,
God.
guys, we're going to be down here like forever and stuff. And we get through like probably like a quarter of it. And like by this time, like the brothers who are upstairs, like trying to intimidate us, have like come down like twice and are like yelling at us. They're like mad that we're like taking so long to do this and like trying to intimidate us. And like some people are starting to like get actually scared, being like, oh, we're gonna get cut now. And it's like, this far into the process, like
They're not cutting anybody.
they need to get people to pay for this later. Like they need some new blood in the frat.
Dues are not cheap, folks.
Exactly. So they were like, people were freaking out, and then I just like tired of this. So I was like, I had my hero moment.
I know what you did.
Fucking popped off the stopper, whirled it up, took it down, and I was like, boom, we're done. And for about like
And there was still like a half of the handle left.
it was a whole like probably closer to like 2/3 left in that hand.
my God.
Like I took that whole thing down in like way too fast of time, to the point where everybody was like, whoa. Like, you didn't need to do that.
I'm the alpha now.
No, yeah, literally. And I felt so good for about like a minute and a half. Then the last thing I remember is sitting down, asking somebody if we could spark up, and then I woke up in the hospital the next morning.
I was going to say, because as someone who's now in recovery, but my go-to towards the end of my drinking was I would buy a handle, a pack of cigarettes, and like Gatorade or Chaser or something like
Love a
that.
Gatorade.
And I would burn through. What I ended up doing towards the end was I would get the big jugs of powdered Gatorade. I would pour out a water bottle, put a little bit of water in it, the powdered Gatorade, and then fill the rest with vodka. Because I'm like,
Damn, you were down.
getting electrolytes while I'm drinking. This is so smart. But even then, in my like most egregious alcoholism, maybe half of a handle to 2/3 was the most I could do in a full like day.
It's insane.
And you knocked out 2/3 of a handle in 45 seconds.
Yeah, it was one of the dumbest things I've ever done in my life.
So you wake up in the hospital.
I wake up in the hospital.
What is the story that is told to you?
All right, I wake up in the hospital, still like pretty drunk. 'Cause,
Yeah.
like that's so much alcohol. I'm
Next
like,
day, a few hours later, how long has it been?
it's the next day. It's probably like 12 o'clock noon. So I've like been passed out for like probably like a good 10, 12 hours.
It's almost
or
a
so.
coma.
Yeah.
You were almost in a coma.
I was almost in a coma. I wake up. I'm like, well, this is not this is not where I remember being. You know, this basement looks a lot brighter all of a sudden.
Who installed the fluorescent light?
I know. So I'm trying to figure out what I did, and then all of a sudden I see like this nurse walks in and goes, "Rise and shine," and I'm like, "All right, I know this is a joke for you, but I'm trying to piece my life back together. Like,
I don't know what happened.
Where am I? What's going on?" And they're like, "Oh, it looks like you had like a crazy night or whatever and stuff. You came in, you just had to sleep it off. We didn't have to pump your stomach or anything, but your clothes were all covered in throw up. So we have those in a bag for you. I'll go grab them, and a doctor will be in to talk to you shortly
about your severe alcohol problem."
Yeah, it was like, and I think because I was a freshman, like I had 2 doctors like come in, and it was like kind of a like, "Hey, is somebody forcing you to do this?" Yeah. Like they were trying to like investigate to being like, "Are you being bullied?" or something like that. Like, "Is there hazing we need to be worried about?"
I could have left at any time.
And I was like, "No, I was trying to prove something to nobody actually."
In fact, after I did it, everyone was like, "You didn't have to do that."
Yeah, people were like, "Why'd you do that?" Actually.
That's so funny. So I'm curious is because getting your stomach pumped sucks. They pump it full of charcoal and then you have to throw it all. It's disgusting. But you didn't have to do any of that.
I didn't have to do any of that, which is shocking because what the doctor did tell me, and then like I was able to like double check this in like my university like medical record portal, that like my blood alcohol content when I came into the ER was 0.304.
That's insane because
you're like at risk of dying at
when
0.4.
I woke up at my 30th birthday, when I woke up in the hospital the last time I drank, it was 0.38.
Oh, dude, high score.
The doctor literally came in and he was like, "You should have been dead 3 hours ago.
I know.
This is insane. Look at us,
dude.
outliers.
Look at us,
Let's
dude.
go.
Look at us, tanks." No, yeah, for it
No,
definitely.
but seriously, it's very
it's serious, but it was a kind of a badge of honor afterwards. Feel like, damn, high score. But yeah, he was telling me all that stuff, and I was like, "That's crazy." And then
just still drunk, being like, "That's nuts,
that's
man.
nuts, man." And then I was like, I just remember immediately being like, "Oh fuck, I'm gonna have to like tell my parents," like, and be like,
really?
yeah, being like, "Oh, they're gonna," because like, "Oh, they're probably gonna get a bill of some
Yeah,
sort." So I'm
that's
like,
true.
"This is gonna be
ID still has your home address."
exactly," and all that stuff. So I'm like, "This is gonna be tough." And then the thing that pissed me off though, when I was like leaving the hospital, is like they didn't wash my clothes. Like
No,
they just
they won't,
they
yeah.
just give you like your throw up like soaked clothes, and then you're just like in the back of a cruiser getting dropped back to your dorm, and I'm like, this is worse than like a walk of shame. Like I would much rather be like coming out of like a hookup all like
Being
disheveled.
Like, "What's up?"
Yeah, just being like, no, this guy like doesn't know how much liquor he can handle.
So did you ended up making the fraternity, I assume?
I did end up making the fraternity because
Yeah.
like that, and it was so funny because they also. The morning after it happened, I immediately started getting like texts from a bunch of people who were part of the fraternity.
Who brought you to the hospital?
Ambulance. They called like
They did,
They
okay.
called EMTs because like they were worried that like something happening to a kid during like a frat associated thing.
That is a
like,
federal investigation.
That's a Penn State case. You know,
Yeah.
you don't want to deal with that shit. So like they
splashed all over the news, even ESPN, like Michigan,
exactly. So people were like,
Michigan student dies.
Michigan student dies. But I was like, they all called me like the next day being like, "Hey man, is everything okay? Like, do you think you could like meet up and stuff?" Because they also wanted to talk to me to be like, "Hey, did you tell
Yeah.
like cops or like hospital people
You're
anything?"
the one in the power position now.
Exactly. And I was like, no, like I was hoping everything's chill. Like I'm still going to be part of the frat and everything. And
Oh,
they,
yeah, of
and they
course,
were
of
like,
course.
"Oh dude, you're totally in." And then they were like just showing me pictures of like the aftermath. And they were like, "Yeah, that's you. And that's all the Kraft mac and cheese you threw up." And I was like, damn.
That's nuts. So you mentioned this in high school. You weren't a big drinker.
Nah, I was much more smoking weed.
When
having
was the
fun.
first time you got drunk?
First time I got drunk was probably like tail end of senior year of high school
Okay.
in somebody's like backyard.
Yeah,
you know,
same.
just
I
celebrating.
waited for like all of high school, and then finally I was like, yeah, let's try it.
Yeah, it just wasn't that like appealing to me. Weed seemed so cool.
When did you try weed?
I tried weed when I was like 15, 16.
Okay.
And it was
Strict parents or not strict parents?
strict parents who like I was hiding it and stuff. About like a year into it, I got caught. It was like a whole thing. Started like getting very tracked. I wasn't getting like tracked physically on my phone. My parents weren't like that OD where they're like where are you every time? But it was like, you got to be home by 10 o'clock, and like, I want to smell your clothes and everything to make sure you're not like doing some shit.
Change the clothes in the car.
Dude, change the clothes in the car. Those little Listerine strips
Hell
change your life. You know, you start getting real innovative. When
it is, yeah. It's because I had an opposite thing because like when I graduated high school, I just moved out, so then I could kind of just do whatever.
Amazing.
So when I got to college, it was kind of an opposite thing where everyone's like, we can do whatever we want, and I was like, I've been doing this.
Oh,
so what
yeah.
do you guys do? Yeah.
Especially, I got to Michigan and I was like, oh, weed is like legal here too. Like I can just be
I didn't think
smoking
about
around.
that.
I was like, I'm in heaven. I was like, this is amazing.
Dude, that must have been awesome.
It was the best.
What happened with you put Lost in UP? Lost in the UP.
Yeah, the UP, the Upper Peninsula.
I fucking read it and I was like, I think he means Upper Peninsula.
Yeah, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Yeah, I like for one of our little breaks in college, I decided to go on a backpacking trip with.
What year is this?
This is junior year of college.
Okay.
Or no, I think it's actually the beginning of senior year. Yeah, because junior year we had COVID, so I was fucking inside for a whole year of college.
Okay, so you've
blew.
been. You're so young.
Yeah.
So you've been at Michigan a while.
Yeah.
You kind of run the fraternity now. You are the captain.
I didn't run the fraternity. Like I had to post the bid night thing. It was all like. I had went from being on campus as like stand-up comedian Akash to then blacked out at midnight Akash. And then, so I had to like win it back with the fraternity
Please
people.
tell me you wrote some bits about it.
I wrote some bits about it. I, again, had a similar situation, had a show, like told like people, hey, like come out and stuff, and like wasn't expecting everybody to come out because I'm like, I'm still the new guy in the fraternity, you know. Some of them probably still think I'm the fucking loser who like blacked out and ruined their party. So
if you wouldn't have blacked out, that you would have been the king.
Oh yeah, they would have.
If
been
you would
like,
have just held it together.
I know. If I just like, even if I just got outside, threw up, and came back in, you know, if I
you
could
can rally.
you can rally.
Like this guy is the king,
the Messiah, Lisan al-Gib.
But then you throw up on yourself, and they have to call the ambulance, and they're like, "This guy is a problem."
And like I'm just like dead weight that these people are like hauling around.
God, just that one little thing would have changed the whole trajectory.
So it was like a little bit of like I was kind of a joke rather than being the guy who was doing jokes. So then I had a show, invited some people out, didn't think, and again, people are really going to show up because I'm like, are you going to go to a frat party or are you going to go to this little comedy show? They all ended up like pre-gaming it. So they like everybody had a separate chat where they were like, hey, somebody's going to host a pregame. We're all going to go. And so again, like 70 people like show up to this thing. My like other comedians in the club are looking at me like, who do you fucking know? And I was just like, I didn't even think these people were going to show up.
That's the best feeling when you go to a smaller show. But like in my case, I'll tell Tracy or her brother and I'll be like, hey, just bring a couple people. And then show up to a smaller show where like there's 3 audience members, and then all of a sudden 15 people walk in, and you're like, "What's up now?"
And yeah, it's like, oh, we actually have a show. You know, it's amazing.
People start scrambling. Like, I was gonna do all new material, but we actually have to get clips from this.
I know. So yeah, it was like a real like, oh shit, lock in time. And then it was a similar thing where I was like, you're like really, you know how it is. Even now when you perform, you're like nervous for a second, but as soon as you get that like first laugh, you're like, I got you guys. Like you're mine. Like, and then I like killed it. And then it was back to being like, stand-up comedian Akash, cool guy Akash. And I was
went a little crazy that one night.
Yeah.
That is, and I've talked about this ad nauseum with my guests, but it's similar when I played football. Like, you're so nervous, and I was always the guy who would throw up before the game because you're nervous. And then you get that first hit, and you're like, oh, I've done this a million times. Comedy is similarly, but it also can happen. Same thing on the football field where if you get run over, you're like, oh, it's going to be a long day.
Yeah.
Comedy's the same way where you'll get on stage, and I've had this happen so many times. First bit doesn't land, and you're like, well, the second bit's about the first bit, so if that one didn't work, and then the second bit doesn't land, and you're like, fuck me.
I know that when you like tell that joke that you're like, I've told this 100 times, it always gets this laugh, and then you like do it, and you're like, do you guys know you're supposed to chime in right now? Like, did you not see the script? Like, you're supposed to say something right
Pause
now.
for laughter?
Yeah.
Laughter, that's you guys.
And then you're like, oh, fuck, I'm cooked.
Yeah, I've had that happen before. Like, I did a show in New Haven, Connecticut, and I always open, obviously, until I filmed the special in May, I always open kind of the same way. Not from here. I don't like telling people where I'm from. And then I go into the whole being from Florida looking like a cop.
Yeah.
And when I did the doesn't matter how much you look like a cop. And then I literally go into the next line, which is, and another thing I learned, don't quote the national anthem like it's a legally binding document. And it literally went from,
And
I was like, how can you laugh so hard at the first bit and the second bit, which is on the same line of thinking? It's the same premise.
Yeah.
Just go complete, not like it calms down, like just went completely silent. I was like, big fans of the national anthem? Like, what's going on here?
It's so weird when like you're on stage and you'll like be like, this is what you're triggered by? Like, this is your thing?
This is the thing that doesn't... I was just watching back some old stuff from the tour last year. We were in Charlotte at the Comedy Zone, and I have a bunch of bits about working in restaurants. And I'm always like, front of house or back of house? And this woman was like, yeah, I've worked in restaurants. And I was like, oh, front of house or back of house? And she's like, oh, I was a bartender. And I go, yeah, you're very pretty. Of course you were in the front. And everyone was like... And I was like, that was too far? I was just doing Trump for 10 minutes and you guys were dying. That was too far?
It's insane, dude.
Calling a woman in the audience like, yeah, obviously you worked in the front. You're very pretty. And everyone's like, fuck you. And I'm like, yeah, okay, cool.
I remember like the first, because I starting comedy like in Michigan, like on a college campus. It's like very like, you know, progressive and like liberal and stuff. So like people would like be very cagey about saying like certain jokes or like certain words and everything. And then I remember like one summer I'm like home in Jersey and I decided to hit up the Stress Factory for like an open mic, and it was like night and day. Like the topics that like people were like throwing
I've had that
out.
experience in Brooklyn versus Manhattan.
Dude, it's yeah, you'll have the same thing here. And I was just like, you would get like tarred and feathered for saying this over there.
I had a friend of mine, we were at a mic a couple weeks ago and they did this bit, and they were like, yeah, everyone was laughing at the beginning, but then I go, you said gay too much. You were like, yeah, but that's gay, and everyone laughed because it was funny. And then he was like, you know, and he was talking about like something with the gym, and then he was like, yeah, but you can't hang over at that part of the gym because it's gay. And then everyone kind of chuckled, and then he did it 3 more times, and I was like, you had him on the first one, you got away with it on the second one, but I was like, by the 3rd through 5, you just look like you're homophobic.
Oh yeah, you really have to like learn to like know your audience. I remember I did in college. One of these like somebody asked us to do comedy for this benefit. That was like they were a charitable organization that did like work for like helping women in like underdeveloped nations like get education and like access to like medical stuff. So like really like pure of heart stuff. For some reason, they want stand-up comedians to do time at that stuff, right? But, you know, we'll take the opportunities.
Yeah,
We're not
I'll
saying
be there,
that.
but you're not going to like what I have to say.
I was like, I'm going to piss off your whole audience, but you said you'd give me $25, right? So, and I'm doing this benefit, and I know this like charity like works a lot in India and stuff. So I'm like, great. I'll like do a bunch of like bits about that. And I'm like, oh, you know, if they work in it, like they're going to be able, they can laugh at themselves, you know? And I like I opened the thing with being like, so you guys do a lot of work in India. You need to step it up. And I was like, they did not like that at all. And I was just like, oh, okay. And then it was like after the fact, somebody was like telling me, it was just like, well, yeah, you know, that's their like pride and joy.
That's their whole life.
And I was like, I guess I should have thought about that.
I have obviously a bunch of material about being sober, and it's so funny to me because when I do benefits for sober houses or AA or whatever, crushes with the immediate audience because it's all sober people. It is the people who have been sober for so long, like the 20-year people who are like the ones putting on the benefit that have a problem.
It's insane.
They'll be like, that was a little aggressive. Like you kind of glorify drinking. And I was like, I talked about almost dying. What are you talking about? And the audience loves it, like, because they're all like, you know, a year, 2 years, 5 years, 6 years, 3 months. So they can relate because it immediately hits them right here because they can relate to it. But it'll be the people who have like 20, 25 years who are putting on the event that are like, that was very glorifying of drinking. That was very war stories is what we call it, war stories. Like you just talked about war stories the whole time. And I was like, you have a sober comic. What'd you think was going to happen?
Yeah.
Like you get an Indian comic and you talk about India and they're like, that was a little too much. It's
insane, dude. What are you doing, dude?
It's where my family's from.
I know.
So the Upper Peninsula, senior year, you decide to go backpacking.
We decided to go backpacking.
Oh, so there's a group of you.
It's a group of 4, but it's like it's me and like 3 white people, 1 Indian dude who's also he's like half white though. So it's like I'm really the only true guy who's like I've never done this before. This is outside like my
different
thing.
Indian.
I used to do a bit where I was just like if my like parents wanted to like, you know, not have like running water and like no electricity and like bugs biting my ass, like we would have just never immigrated. You know, like I don't understand this, you know, like signing up to doing this. Yeah. So But like they finally convinced us to do this, and like my one friend who is the backpacker, Dylan, he's like, "Oh, don't worry, I got this.
Shout out Dylan.
I'm gonna drive us up there on this route. We're gonna have a good time." So we're all excited. You know, we're packing up like all our gear, and like one of the biggest like
The plan is to go out into the forest and just like camp.
Yeah, the plan is we're gonna hike this trail. It's supposed to be like 20 or I think like 35 miles. We're supposed to do it over like 3 days and stuff, right? Like camping whenever we can and stuff. And a big part of that when you're backpacking is like how much weight you actually have in your like pack and stuff. And we had like decided to like cut out some of our like meal things for like more alcohol, because we were like, that's what we want to do, right? We want to have fun when we're out there. So it's just
drink,
just like, do we really need like some of that canned chicken, or should we throw another Jim Beam in there? Right? So we're making all of these determinations, but then
we'll just eat when we get out there.
Exactly. We'll hunt it, you know. we'll fish.
Drunkenly hunt.
We'll fish it out, you know. I was like super convinced just from like watching TikTok that I was like, I could just walk up to a stream and like fish. Like that's what those guys are doing. You know,
it's we see it in comedy too. But the way that social media has made people be like, I can do that.
Yeah,
and it has been like YouTube has been incredibly beneficial. There's so many things that you just watch a video and you're like, okay, that's how I fixed my car for the longest time because I couldn't afford a mechanic. But then at the same time, it's like, yeah, these people have been doing this for decades.
Exactly. Yeah, like there's the YouTube video where it's like, hey, I'll teach you how to do this, and then you're like, cool, I'll follow along. That's good. The YouTube video where you're just watching a pro and being like, he makes it so easy. Yeah. Like, I could probably do that too. What's the difference?
Doesn't look so hard.
Yeah. Yeah, but we go out here, we're like pretty underpacked when it comes to actual provisions, well packed when it comes to like alcohol, and that immediately bites us in the ass because as we're like just trying to drive to where this like trailhead is, you start getting like really spotty service out there because it is like literally like nobody, but just like,
yeah, it's just
like,
the open.
It's just the open thing. Some homesteaders like every now and then, and just like really like weird woods people and stuff. So we're getting lost at this point. And
because you don't have any reception and you don't know how to use regular maps.
We don't know how to use regular.
Because you're 20.
Yeah, we're 20. We wouldn't even consider like printing out a map.
Nobody would have even. That's again printing out a map. No one would have been like, "Hey, should we grab like an atlas or a Tom's Guide on our way?" No one would have even thought of that.
Yeah, like what was like my mom used to always have like in like the car like just a packet of papers to be like, these are the directions to get there in case the GPS like fucks up.
My grandmother, because her and my grandfather used to drive from Ohio down to Florida to visit us every year. They had legit maps.
Oh wow!
Of the entire East Coast, like. You know what I mean? From like Ohio, like the Midwest, all the way down to the East Coast, like main roads and everything.
You show that to like a Gen Alpha kid, they'll blow up. Like,
yeah. And it was like a stack of them. Because I remember when I would sit in the back of their car once they were in Florida and we'd get bored driving, I'd just pull out maps and look at them to be like, this is crazy.
Yeah, that's like one of those things that like nobody knows how to do today. And I was like on the tail end of it where like we'll still teach you this stuff in like school, but like when we got to like adulthood, we didn't need any of it. Yeah. So now they don't even bother teaching it.
Well, I went to a show a couple weeks ago and I was telling Tracy, I was like, I don't know how anyone got anything done before. Like I know intellectually how they did it, but at the same time, it's like, this is so much more convenient. I can do so much more in a day because of technology than I could have 10 years ago.
Oh yeah. I don't even know how you like put on a show before Eventbrite. Like, how do you get people to hear about like a show? It's
well, and it is a weird thing, and then we'll get back to this because I'm interested in what happened in the peninsula. But I'll see comics who were big. So I started getting into stand-up at 12, so it was 2000. So I'll see comics that I was a huge fan of from like 2000 to 2007, 10, somewhere in there. But then social media happened. So 2012 is a discerning point between before and after because that's when Instagram and all that blows up. So I will see comics at the Cellar or just down on McDougal, who I'm a big fan of. And then I'll look them up on Instagram and they have like no followers or very few followers because they got their name doing it the old way.
Yeah.
Bookers liked them, gatekeepers liked them, they'd put them on shows and that's how they would tour. And this is back in the day when people would be like, oh, let's go see who's at the Comedy Zone. Let's just go check it out.
Yeah.
And now it's flipped. Now it's like, oh, so-and-so is going to be there, so now we have to go. So it is so funny. It's fascinating to me because you'll see them and you'll be like, oh, I love this comedian. They were a huge influence on me. Then you'll look them up and they have like 4,000 followers. And you're like,
I know.
What?
It's like, yeah.
because they're from the old way.
I know.
They don't
when
do
you,
that stuff.
You go to the cellar, like, especially I'll go to the cellar with my friends and stuff, and you're watching the comics on stage, and they'll recognize, like, Schultz, DeStefano, like, people who are, like, really killing on, like, social media. But I remember the first time, like, they saw, like, Greer Barnes, and I was like, this guy has been around for
one of the funniest
a
human
while,
beings
and, like,
alive.
so fucking funny. Like, he's killing year after year.
He's not doing
but
this
they were
shit.
like, I have no idea who that is. And it's just like, yeah, because he doesn't care about, like, this social media shit. Like, he doesn't want to do it. You know?
David Tell was another big one. David Tell had shows on Comedy Central.
Yeah.
And people will still be like, oh, who is this? And I'm like, literally one of the funniest people on the planet.
Yeah. It's a lot of those, like, comics,
Yeah.
you know, who, like, don't want to do it and stuff. But it's just like, at the same time, if you did it, I'd probably never get any attention because, like, you are
some of them
so good.
Who have recently, in the last, like, 2 years, have gotten into it and then blown up.
I know. Because it's like,
I remember Burr was like, I'm not getting on social media. I'm not getting on social media. He started his Instagram, and I was like one of the first like 3,000 people to follow him. And within 2 days, it was up to like 500,000.
Yeah.
He finally was like, all right, fine, fuck it.
it's wild. They don't know, like, how many audience members they're missing out on.
It's so, the market is so flooded. So you're up there, and immediately with the spotty reception, you're like, oh shit, we're getting lost.
We're getting lost. And I'm like trying to tell my friend, like, I'm trying to tell Dylan who's driving, I'm just like, I don't know if we're on like real roads right now. It's just like we've like left paved roads a while
dirt,
back.
just,
We're on dirt. It's a lot of like, I immediately started thinking, I was just like, we have to be on like some sort of like logging trail. Like this has to be like old timey, like nobody's been on this for like fucking years. But we just like keep going through this like trail. And I'm like, there's so many like turnoffs that we get to, and it's always just like, should we go left? Should we go right? Should we go left? Should we go right? And we're like literally just in the car like flipping coins on it because we're like,
and you have no service, so
we
you
have
can't.
no service, and like the idea is just like eventually we have to get out of these woods. Like if we keep going down these trails, there has to be an exit.
That has always been my fail-safe. If I ever get lost anywhere, is just pick a direction and just walk in that direction.
Exactly.
Because you might. Don't turn around, because if you just go long enough, you're eventually going to run into something.
That was our whole thing. And like also we couldn't turn around because like this is not like a real road. This is like truly just, and
also,
like,
you don't know what turns you've been making.
Exactly. This is just like a cutout of dirt. There's like, if we tried to turn around, we're crashing into trees and everything like that. There's no space to do that. We've made a bunch of like stupid turns, and now at this point it's just like, all right, let's just go left for the rest of this. Eventually we will get out of here. We get to like, it starts getting like really hilly, so we're going down these like pretty big dirt ramps and everything, but it had like rained up there or something, so it's super muddy. So we take our little sedan, and like every little hump is like, please like please make it up. And we get past like two of them. Third one, we like get down, and it was immediately like, we are like, we're stuck. We are stuck. You know, we eventually like, we get out of the car, and like for a second we're like, we're five like 20-year-old guys, like, let's just fucking move this car, dude. And we are stuck in some serious mud. So that car is not moving for shit. We like tried digging it out for like a good like hour and a half. Tried like pushing it, pulling it, everything. Couldn't get it to move.
Just
like
covered in mud.
Just like sunk in like.
I guess we live here now.
Yeah, that's essentially. I was just like, I guess I'm dying out here.
It's fun.
So then we're like, oh shit, we don't know what to do. So we take all of our camping gear, and we're like, at least let's start like hiking back the way that we know we came, till we can like try to find some service. Maybe we'll like also like climb up on some hills and see if we can just get a bar, you know. So we finally do, and then when we get to a place where we get some reception, right? We call National Park Services, who immediately like, they're trying to find us, like geolocate us. Guy goes, where the hell are you? He's just like, he thinks we are like loggers, because he was just like, why are you out like this far, like deep in the woods? Like nobody goes out there unless like they're cutting trees, and like the cutting trees people like wrapped up their season like 3 weeks ago. Like, what are you?
So no one's coming out
literally
there.
Nobody's going to be coming out there. So it's like, what are you doing out there? And we were like, we explained the whole thing. We're lost. We're stupid.
We tried to go on this cool hiking trail. And the guy is like, okay, like, don't worry, we'll like figure it out. So he calls somebody who's going to come and try to tow us out. Yeah.
Right. But that guy, like, again, we're in like middle of fucking nowhere. So that's going to take like 3-4 hours. Right. At that point, we like, what else to do? start drinking at the gym. We start cracking into like all the fucking alcohol we have. We're like buy a bunch of like cut up like timber and stuff. So we're like trying to like do like real life Lincoln logs and shit while we're like drunk off our asses and stuff, building all these like little like shacks and stuff and being like, this is my fort or whatever and stuff. Just having a fucking.
You never outgrow that.
You never outgrow that as a kid.
I'm 36 or 37 now, and I still do that.
I did, and every good stick is an amazing sword. Yeah. So we're doing some like
lightsaber for me, but yeah, same.
We did like some Olympics and shit. We like set up like obstacle courses like over the logs, and we were just like running and jumping over them, just like cutting ourselves up. But we are just like drinking like powdered lemonade mixed with like whiskey. So like it's fucking. I don't feel shit, and I'm having a great time.
Did they get out there?
So yeah, we're having so much fun at this point, like drinking and like fucking around with the timber. We like forgot that we like had this guy coming. So eventually we like hear this like roar coming like over the hills, and we're like, what the fuck is that? Like we freak out, and then we see these like massive headlights come up, and this guy has this like souped up like custom Jeep that he has going with like these massive tires and this.
Is it a tow guy or is it the Parks guy?
It's a tow guy, and behind him is the Parks guy. So the Parks guy is behind him, but this guy is like just crushing through the forest in this massive, just like Hummer basically, and he has this huge winch on the top. He gets like the guy who gets out of the car is just everything you want him to be, you know, just like
boys lost, huh?
You boys lost. He sees me and he's like, oh, y'all found Sasquatch. We're dying laughing. We're like, oh my god. We called him like Old Petey and stuff. He never told us his name. We were like, that's Old Petey, and he was. You know, smelled like cigars and like fucking wood, and just like had this big, you know, white old beard, and just he was like, I'm in nature, and he's like, oh, you boys are in some mud, huh? It's just like, I don't know why you came out here, and then he just starts like rattling off like it was probably this egghead's idea, you know, the guy with glasses or whatever and stuff, and then he takes us in his car, which the coolest fucking car I've been in. It was like literally like you could take that to the apocalypse. Like this thing is
that's probably what Old Petey's banking on.
Yeah, that's probably what he's thinking is gonna happen. He pulls us up, takes us to our car, throws the winch onto our car, and then like the amount of effort we put into like trying to move that car within seconds it's just out, and it was like I feel like a kid. Like just like ask, hey, can you get that off the shelf for me?
You can't reach it.
I know. He with such ease he like whips us out of there, and then he like tells us to get into our car. He's going to drive us out back to the like regular road, but he's too worried that we're like going to get stuck again. So he has us winched the whole time.
Aww, and he has holding your hand.
He is like us holding his hand, and we're like pretty much in like neutral, just getting like dragged behind this guy.
Who drove?
Well, I mean,
if everyone was drinking for hours.
Oh, the good thing was like nobody had to like drive in that moment. Yeah. So like once he towed us all the way back to like a parking lot area, and then we just like. That was actually the parking lot where we were supposed to end up.
Oh, okay.
It was like,
so then you just were like, all right,
we're cool. Now we can get out and just like walk our trailhead and everything.
Did you end up walking the trail?
We ended up having to do, we cut it down. So we only did like probably like 15 miles or whatever and stuff. Cause we like lost a whole day.
Yeah.
Like just being stuck in the woods and like with nothing around. And yeah, then we were like, we should probably get some food. So that before we actually like went onto the trailhead, we, you know, got some real food to actually get us through this.
Actually ate?
Yeah.
What, this is the last time we're running out of time. So I wanted to ask you about this one, the Christmas tree fire in the Naked Lap.
The Christmas tree fire in the Naked Lap. Okay. Yeah. So me and my boys, we had a rule when it came to like pretty much every drinking game or something. Like in Pong, if you never hit a cup the whole time, if the game ends, like you got to do a naked lap. That's how it starts. So one night, you know, around Christmas time, so there's Christmas trees out and stuff. I'm playing Pong at this party. Not a good game for your boy. End up not hitting a single cup. And I know that it's...
You know the rules.
I know the rules. So the second that like last ball enters my cup and my team's done, I don't even like make a big fuss about it. I just like exit the door and I'm like, I'm going to start stripping, right? So I'm outside, I was stripping, but then there was some other friends of mine who were smoking weed right by like this dumpster that had a plastic Christmas tree in it, because I think actually Christmas had just ended, so this is probably like January.
So it's freezing.
It's freezing. I have to do this naked lap in like all ice and snow, and like, but right before I do it, I like take a drag from these guys who are smoking weed. I'm like, let me just get a little hit, right? End up finishing the joint, so they're just like, oh, just toss it.
Uh-oh.
Tossed it into this trash can and just like took off. So it was like just one fluid motion of like So I'm gone, and I'm just trying to.
And you were naked taking the hit?
I'm naked taking the hit. Like, I'm naked, freezing, just like now focusing on just getting around this house so I can put my clothes back on, and not busting my ass. I didn't realize that.
Shoes on, shoes off for a naked
Shoes
lap.
off, shoes off. So
That's painful.
feet are cold. You're worried
You
about
get frostbite that way.
Yeah, it was bad.
Don't fucking hit a cup.
Yeah, hit a cup, get good at the game, So I'm running, but I didn't realize like this Christmas tree was plastic. I also didn't think
Incredibly flammable.
incredibly flammable. I didn't think the little J that I had was any sort of fire starter, but like I take off, I'm turning the corner on like the back of the house, and I just see like where I was. There's just a giant ball of fire going off.
Dude.
I finished the lap, and there's now everybody is outside the house. So I was trying to get this naked lap done quick, so nobody see my naked ass like fucking freezing and everything. Being like, guys, it's cold. Come on, don't judge.
The water was cold. The Seinfeld bit.
But now, because of this like little arson that I just committed, everybody is outside this house, and we're all looking at like this trash can is all like melted, and like the drain pipe that's like up against the house is like also warped.
So it's against the house.
It's against
I thought
the
it was like a dumpster.
No, it's like
I was like, yeah, just watch it burn then.
No, plastic trash can. So like that plastic trash can like melted a little bit, like the rain siding like warped and stuff.
Is this the house that you were at, or is this like the neighbor's house?
This is the house that we were at. So this is like a bunch of my buddies who like pay the lease here are just like, thanks, you just cost me my security deposit.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
but at least it's not like a neighbor where they're calling the cops.
Yeah,
And like, oh shit.
Yeah, it wasn't like, okay, I'm not gonna get in any like legal trouble, but I'm gonna have to send some Venmos later.
Yeah. Somebody's gonna get a Venmo.
Yeah. So now what I wanted to just be like my little minor embarrassment that I got done quickly in the snow by myself became into this like whole giant spectacle where everybody comes out being like, oh my God, what is this like fucking fire? And then around the corner, I just like come being like, and then being like, hey, whoa, what's going on?
So you went from being the comedy guy to the guy doing stand-up comedy to the drunk asshole who ended up in the hospital to now the guy who started a fire.
Yeah.
You had quite the college career.
A little bit. We tried to get some fun in there.
Dude, this was a blast. We got to have you come back on. There's animal games, shrooms in Europe, drunk fun fights. We got a lot to talk about.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Plug everything one more time. Let everybody know.
Yeah, Akash Baj Comedy on TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. Greenwich Village Comedy Club, Broadway Comedy Club, always there. Use the promo code Akash. I don't know when this is going to come out, but I'll also be in Nashville next week at the Tiny Cupboard Comedy Club. So if you want to come through.
Nashville went great.
If you want to come through that, come through. Yeah, it went amazing. Crushed.
Thank you, everybody, so much for listening at Brennan T Comedy on all social media, BrennanTComedy.com. Shooting the special May 17th at Grove 34. Get your tickets at Grove34.com. And we'll talk to y'all next week.